The mystery of Gemini. Ruled by Mercury, the planet of intellect, communication, and movement, Gemini is the most complex duality in the zodiac. They are the air that carries messages between worlds, the thinker, the dreamer, the shapeshifter. People often mistake Gemini's adaptability for instability, but behind that constant motion lies a mind that never stops searching for meaning. Geminis live between curiosity and chaos, between the need to connect and the instinct to escape. They are emotionally intelligent, but rarely emotionally still. To love a Gemini is to embrace a paradox, a soul that can make you feel seen one moment and invisible the next. A person who can talk about emotions fluently, yet struggles to stay in one place long enough to feel them fully. But what happens when Gemini, the eternal communicator, goes silent? What happens when the sign that once filled your world with laughter, ideas, and messages simply withdraws? Today we'll explore what truly happens when Gemini gets tired of someone, how they act during a breakup, and why their silence often speaks louder than words. The essence of Gemini in love. When Gemini falls in love, it's like watching the first sunrise after a long winter. Everything feels new, electric, alive. They don't just fall for a person, they fall for their mind, their energy, their ability to surprise and challenge them. For Gemini, attraction begins in the brain. They crave conversations that spark lightning, humor that disarms, and emotional intelligence that keeps up with their pace. Gemini doesn't fall in love out of loneliness. They fall in love out of fascination. They are drawn to complexity, to stories, to people who can make them think and feel at the same time. But that same curiosity that brings them close can also make them drift away. Because Gemini's heart is not ruled by comfort. It's ruled by movement. They need change, stimulation, discovery. And when a relationship begins to feel repetitive, predictable, or emotionally stagnant, something inside them starts to fade. They won't leave immediately, but you'll feel it. That slight disconnection, that sense that their laughter doesn't quite reach their eyes anymore. Gemini starts to test the boundaries, not because they've stopped caring, but because they're searching for signs that the spark can still be saved. Signs that Gemini is getting tired. Recognizing when Gemini is emotionally withdrawing can be tricky because they rarely do it all at once. Their distance comes like a quiet wind, first soft, then cold. 1. The silence between words. A Gemini who used to message constantly will start replying slower. Their once playful texts become brief, factual, or delayed. This isn't them trying to play games. It's a symptom of emotional detachment. Their mind has already begun to turn inward, analyzing whether staying still makes sense anymore. 2. The loss of laughter. Gemini's love language is humor. If the jokes fade, the teasing stops and the laughter turns into polite smiles. That's not apathy. That's exhaustion. When they stop trying to make you laugh, it means they no longer feel emotionally safe to play. 3. Emotional inconsistency. Geminis can become unpredictable. One day, affectionate and close. The next, distant and distracted. This is often misread as manipulation, but in reality, it's confusion. They're torn between the version of the relationship they miss and the reality they're facing. 4. Redirected focus. You'll notice them pouring energy into other things, friends, work, new hobbies, or personal projects. They begin escaping emotionally before they physically leave. 5. Reduced depth in conversations. Gemini lives for meaningful talk. If their conversations become shallow or avoidant, if they no longer dream aloud with you, it's because they're quietly building emotional walls to protect themselves from the goodbye they already sense coming. Why Gemini decides to leave. Gemini doesn't walk away on impulse. They walk away out of mental clarity. When they leave, it's because they've already argued with themselves for weeks, even months. Let's explore the most common reasons they finally let go. 1. Emotional stagnation. Gemini needs a relationship that grows, one that challenges their mind and inspires their creativity. If the dynamic becomes too routine or one-sided, they start to feel trapped. They crave evolution, not perfection. 2. Lack of intellectual connection. For Gemini, mental stimulation is intimacy. If the conversations lose depth or their partner stops listening, they begin to feel unseen. 3. Dishonesty and mistrust. Though Gemini is often accused of being evasive, they value truth deeply, as long as it's communicated with respect. Once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible for them to rebuild the same emotional openness. 4. Feeling controlled or misunderstood. Gemini values freedom above all. If their partner tries to limit their independence or constantly misreads their emotions, Gemini starts to emotionally suffocate. 5. Emotional neglect. They might not always express their needs directly, but they feel deeply. If their energy, words, and affection go unnoticed, they eventually retreat to protect their spirit. When Gemini finally decides to leave, it's rarely out of anger. It's out of acceptance. They've analyzed every possibility, replayed every memory, and concluded that staying would mean losing themselves. How Gemini acts during a breakup. When Gemini ends a relationship, their reaction can appear detached, even cold. But this is often misunderstood. They are not indifferent. They are protecting themselves from emotional overload. They go quiet. For a sign that lives through communication, their silence after a breakup can feel like a storm behind glass. They prefer to process everything internally before they share their feelings with the world. Geminis often take on a logical tone during the separation. They want to explain, to rationalize, to make sense of what went wrong. But beneath that calm exterior lies a sea of mixed emotions: grief, guilt, nostalgia, and relief, all coexisting in confusion. They won't seek revenge or drama. That's not their nature. Instead, they'll use words to bring closure, short, precise, and final. You may notice that Gemini tries to remain friends. This is not because they want to come back. It's because they need emotional closure. They want to transform pain into understanding, to rewrite chaos into peace. But don't be fooled. Once a Gemini has made the mental decision to move on, their heart eventually follows. They may look back fondly, but they rarely return. Gemini after the breakup. After the breakup, Gemini's world doesn't collapse. It transforms. They throw themselves into new ideas, social circles, or creative projects. They seek stimulation not to forget, but to rediscover themselves. You might think they're unaffected, laughing, posting, living freely. But beneath that apparent joy, they're processing everything silently. Geminis heal by understanding. They replay moments in their mind, dissecting each conversation, each decision, until they find meaning in the ending. And once they do, they let go. Not with bitterness, but with acceptance. Solitude doesn't scare them, silence does. So they fill it with music, art, travel, or self-expression. Every new experience becomes part of their emotional rebirth. With time, Gemini emerges lighter, wiser, and more selective. They carry no hatred, only the memory of lessons learned and the quiet promise that next time, they'll choose differently. Lessons from Gemini's way of letting go. Gemini teaches us a profound truth. Letting go is not always about forgetting. Sometimes it's about understanding. They remind us that endings don't have to be tragic to be meaningful. Their ability to detach doesn't mean they didn't care. It means they loved with both their heart and their mind, and when one of them stopped aligning, they had the courage to walk away. Gemini's story of love and loss is not about inconsistency, it's about authenticity. They refuse to stay where words have lost their power and emotions have stopped evolving. In every goodbye, Gemini is reborn, curious again, hopeful again, ready to meet the next soul who will challenge and mirror their own. Gemini may walk away, but never without having given their heart first. They love with curiosity, passion, and intensity. Yet when they feel unheard, unseen, or trapped, their soul begins to fade quietly. And once they finally let go, it's not out of anger, it's out of acceptance. If you've ever loved a Gemini, cherish the connection, because they will always remember the moments, even if they never return. And if you are a Gemini, know that your ability to feel deeply and move on gracefully is your greatest strength. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss more deep zodiac stories like this one. Until next time, protect your energy and never forget who you are.